Each of these reveals will all alter the way you view certain movie scenes forevermore. So I am Gareth here from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 movie moments impossible to watch the same after this video. Number 10. The phone call scenes were shot in a very unique way. Air. Over the course of Ben Affleck's Air, the likes of Matt Damon, Viola Davis, Jason Bateman, and Chris Messina can all be found screaming, joking, and delivering all-timer monologues into a telephone at various points. And while witnessing a star producing epic work into a handset isn't exactly anything new, the way in which Affleck went about shooting the film's many telephone chats most certainly was. According to Damon when talking to Yahoo Entertainment, rather than having the actor on the other end of the line call in from home, or forcing someone to perform the scene with a script supervisor on the day of their close-up, Affleck brought both ends of the conversation to set at the same time. In the case of Damon and Messina's hilarious back and forths as night talent scout Sonny Vaccaro and sports agent David Falk respectively, the two actors were placed down the hall from one another, meaning that the director could easily direct both stars during the shoot, and the actors could overlap and scream and play, as Messina put it. Knowing the various talented souls involved here were being shot at precisely the same time definitely changes the way you view these sudden bursts of phone energy, and explains why these sequences crackled in the way they ultimately did in the end. And it was this rather ingenious call that led to unexpected improvised gold in the form of Messina's "I will eat your nuts" line too. What's your favourite piece of improvised movie gold? Well, let me know in the comments below, friends. Number 9. Mark Strong made Adam Sandler cry in their fight scene, Murder Mystery 2. Adam Sandler was very much keen to get his hands dirty during the shooting of Netflix's Murder Mystery sequel, going head-to-head with British titan Mark Strong at the top of the Eiffel Tower during the film's climax. And it was that willingness to do his own ass-kicking that actually resulted in Sandler getting smacked for realsies by his bad guy co-star. Strong is seen grabbing hold of the Nick Spitz actor's shoulder before unleashing a devastating punch to the throat during the pair's battle. But while shooting this sequence that took some time to get in the can, the Brit revealed on the One Show that he accidentally caught him during one particularly painful take. And with that in mind, it's now rather difficult to watch this specific moment mid-showdown the same way, after learning Sandler legitimately got pulverized by that same move in another take. Number 8. Margot Robbie's Brad Pitt smooch was improvised because she wanted to kiss him. Babylon. When the chance to smooch one of the most famous big screen personalities of all time lands at your feet, you can hardly blame an actor for doing all they can to nudge it into a scene. That's precisely the scenario Margot Robbie found herself in during the making of Damien Chazelle's epic Babylon drama, when standing opposite Brad Pitt at one point in the shoot. As the Australian sensation would reveal to E! News, the moment her Nellie Leroy suddenly laid a smacker on Pitt's Jack Conrad at a particularly decadent party wasn't actually a part of the script at all. But after attempting to convince her director that she thought Nellie would definitely fancy giving Jack a snog in the moment, the director agreed that it would actually work. Though he also clocked the fact she just wanted to kiss the legendary figure, with Robbie responding with a cheeky "oh so sue me, this opportunity might never come up again." So the next time you enjoy this unexpected lip lock, do so with the knowledge that this was largely just Robbie fulfilling one of her Hollywood dreams. Number 7. Florence Pugh legitimately cuts her own hair, a good person. Joining Les Miserables' Anne Hathaway as a star whose hair was legitimately snipped away on camera, Florence Pugh also decided that getting a genuine cut in the middle of a scene was the right call during Zach Braff's A Good Person. But the fact that the leading lady and producer was going to be very much chopping off her own locks in a scene involving her Allison trying to follow the instructions from a YouTube influencer meant that they only really had one shot at nailing the moment. Luckily, thanks to the fact Pugh had rehearsed with a wig beforehand, the actor managed to nail the improvised cut on the day. However, Braff would still explain to USA Today that everyone was understandably biting their nails during the DIY moment on set. And on top of Pugh feeling that the process of doing her own cut was liberating and was like the final key to unlocking this character, as she put it, knowing that this big screen haircut is 100% real only makes the sight of a devastated Allison impulsively kissing goodbye to her hair even more impactful. Number 6. Nebula is carrying a freakishly real life-size Chris Pratt dummy, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Getting the emotional final volume of Guardians of the Galaxy goodness underway with a typically outstanding opening sequence, the titular crew are all seen wandering around nowhere with a passed-out Peter Quill being carried by Nebula. Rather than relying on some fancy wirework or CGI magic to bring this creep-accompanied moment to life though, James Gunn actually opted for a rather specific practical effect. creating a freakishly accurate life-size dummy of Chris Pratt for the opening scene. The director revealed on Instagram that said Quill replica, designed by Legacy Effects, weighed just 35 pounds. This meant that Karen Gillan could effortlessly handle Star-Lord's lifeless body on the day of shooting the moment in question. And don't worry if you were someone who fully believed they were just watching some tried and tested wirework in this moment too, because the film's editor was also fully under the impression that Gunn had managed to somehow brilliantly hide the wires on Pratt here, only for the mind behind this epic MCU trilogy to reveal the dummy truth 2 weeks into editing this scene. What a bunch of geniuses, and jackasses of course. Number 5, Russell Crowe had to also perform his scenes in his gladiator voice, Thor: Love and Thunder. In Russell Crowe's mind, as he would note in an interview with Vanity Fair, the leader of the gods, Zeus, needed to boast a Greek accent due to the fact he was, well, a Greek god. But Love and Thunder director Taika Waititi and the other folks behind the scenes felt that an accent closer to the one he possessed in Gladiator when playing Maximus was better suited. Eventually, the team agreed to let Crowe go fully Greek for the role, but only if he agreed to simultaneously shoot all of his scenes in his Gladiator voice too. Getting to play with 2 different accents must have certainly been a unique experience for the acting legend. But this also meant that Crowe's working days on the film were effectively doubled in length. In the end, the studio claimed that the version that got the biggest reaction during test screenings would make the final cut. And as promised, when Crowe's original choice smashed the English characterization by 10 or 15 points, that was the version left in the film. With that information now fresh in your mind, have fun imagining what Crowe going full Maximus in the role would have looked and sounded like during your next watch of Love and Thunder. I'm sure you'll be entertained. Number 4, the kitchen is doing exactly the right food prep at any given time, the menu. The food on show during this horror comedy is arguably as much of a star as the actors, it must be said, with everything from a surreal breadless bread plate to the highly personal memory taco dish getting a moment to shine on screen in the menu. But according to the director when talking to Entertainment Weekly, nailing the preparation of said dishes during the flick was just as important to Mark Mylod as the gorgeous shots of the finished courses were. In order to ensure that precisely the right food prep was being performed at exactly the right moment it should be during the events of the film, only actors who had previously worked in the restaurant industry were cast in the various kitchen background roles. Said team members were then put through a boot camp by real-life chef John Ben Hayes, which focused on making sure absolutely every single element of what was seen going down in the kitchen at any time was completely authentic. So be sure to take a closer look at those hard-working background staff members when you decide to sit down to enjoy your next serving from this particular menu. Number 3, James Cameron's sneaky voiceover cameo, Avatar: The Way of Water. Among all those jaw-dropping shots of Na'vi splashing around in liquid and big bad colonels being brought back from the dead, there was actually a subtle return that slipped through the cracks somewhat in Avatar: The Way of Water. Listen closely as that latter Miles Quaritch Avatar recombinant is coming around on an RDA spacecraft, and you'll hear the voice of none other than Cameron himself delivering a few lines over the radio. This isn't the first time Cameron has managed to sneak his way into his Avatar world either. The director pulled something similar off in the first film, popping up as a voice over the radio as the Dragon gunship makes its way over to the Na'vi home tree. So not only will you not be able to watch these scenes back without imagining the legendary director on the other end of the line going forward, but you can now make it your mission to spot any future Cameron voice cameos in future Avatar sequels too. 1. Jessica Hennick broke her glass prematurely. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. For anyone who has luckily managed to make it this far in life without accidentally knocking over something valuable and realizing how much trouble is heading their way, look no further than the look on Jessica Hennick's face late on in Glass Onion for an example of a human sensing they have most certainly messed up. As revealed by director Ryan Johnson to Entertainment Weekly in the wake of the film's release, the original plan was to just practice how the team would go about executing the moment involving her character of Peg dropping a massive glass wheel during the film's climax. But after explaining to his star how he wanted her to drop the item they only had one of after he'd finished counting to 3, Hennick mistakenly let go of the glass after he'd finished. So the look captured on her face as she looks towards the camera with a mortified expression on her mug was 100% real. The camera had luckily been rolling during the practice, so the take was used in the finished article. Yet while Johnson would go on to claim he loved the botched moment, Hennick would confess that she still has nightmares about her glass fumble. And now you can relive this hilarious premature glass drop in an entirely different light whenever you decide to return to Benoit Blanc's latest investigation. You are welcome!